Alright, we get to be a little more positive in one of these reaction videos. I'm so pumped. I don't have to be serious for this video. But that being said, great win for the Broncos against Tampa. They really needed this one. I think just from a confidence standpoint, from a coaching confidence perspective, just overall for the organization, they really needed this win. Just after two straight losses where it was one-score games, and yet you felt like you didn't play really well, to then come back and play so much better against a quality team like Tampa, who was in the playoffs last year. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better bounce-back game from the first 2 weeks. And so we'll start with the big plays of the game, and it really starts with the opening drive, with Sean Payton taking the opening kickoff, receiving, and then going down and being aggressive, throwing the football with Bo Nix and company. And that really was the strategy. He said it after the game, where he said they wanted to throw the ball early and then run the ball late. And I think you knew that Sean Payton wanted to be aggressive with Bo Nix, get his confidence going. And so that first drive, they dialed up the best passing plays that they had executed through training camp and through so far this season. And you saw it with the first pass to Courtland Sutton, the 30-yard pass to Josh Reynolds. It gets them in the red zone. And then Bo Nix finishes off with a rushing touchdown. Boom. 7-zip. That set the tone for the Broncos nice and early. And you could tell the Broncos, that gave them the confidence that they needed to play the rest of the game, especially defensively, which we'll get into later. So they get a stop. They ultimately get the interception. Brandon Jones, the free agent signing to replace Justin Simmons in the secondary, stepped up big with that pick in the first quarter. Led to the Jaleel McLaughlin. Oh my goodness, what a move he put on that defender. Got into the end zone. Boom. 2-score lead. Big plays. But I think the defining moment for this game came in the second quarter. You know, the Broncos were up 17-0. They're driving down the field again. Javonte Williams, we'll talk about him later too, fumbles the football. Tampa gets the ball back and then immediately goes down the field and scores the touchdown. Boom. 10-point game. And there's about 2 minutes left in the half. That was the point where the Broncos were going to either make or break in this game. And this is where we learned a lot about Bo Nix and his mentality today. You could have, put the pressure on to really get points before halftime. He didn't look phased at all. He was Bo cool. I mean, he continued to execute the game plan. He was hitting passes, checking into the right plays, making the right decisions, and they end up getting 3 points, going up 20-7 at halftime, and then the defense gets the stop coming out of halftime. And that was the game right there. The defense continued to make plays. They didn't bend. Well, they did bend, but they didn't break. Excuse me. I've got to the right phrase. But I think ultimately getting to that running game in the second half really put this game away, especially the third quarter drive where they went 16 plays and kicked the field goal. That really ate up a bunch of time on the clock. And that led to the fourth quarter performance from Tyler Beatty. And let's face it, this is sort of my bold take from this game. He needs to be the starting running back for the Denver Broncos going forward. I mean, the way Javonte Williams has looked, he doesn't look like the guy that we saw in his rookie year in 2021. He just doesn't look like he has the burst and the agility anymore. And for some reason, through the first 3 games, Tyler Beatty, when he came in against Pittsburgh, only had 1 rushing attempt, but that one run went for 16 yards. And then, you see, I think it was his first or second attempt of the game, it went for 43 yards, and that was the backbreaker, and you saw the fans leaving for the exits right after that run. It was incredible. And then the runs after that, it was like 8, 7, 5 yards. He had 8 carries for 69 yards. That's like 8 yards a clip. That's incredible. So there's no question that Tyler Beatty just provides a different kind of spark for the Broncos running game. And I think that on top of Bo Nix's mobility, I think you got to be able to utilize both those assets moving forward. And then let's talk about the defense now with the Broncos. I mean, besides the one touchdown drive, absolutely outstanding. They were solid in the run game, and they forced Tampa to pass, and the secondary was great, only allowing the one touchdown, which was a great throwing catch. But then you had allowed that pass rush to get going. Nick Bonino, Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen. And then when you got the Tillman guy who came over from the USFL getting 2 sacks in a game, you know the Broncos have some depth once they start playing better. And credit to Vance Joseph. That was a great game plan against that offense to not allow them to get going, never find a rhythm. And even when they did in the second half, they always got the sack that just stalled the drive right there. And they were out of sorts then. So overall, I mean, there's things to work on. The red zone conversions after the first 2 scoring drives, it wasn't good. They were just kicking field goals. And then third down, they weren't great either. I think that's an emphasis. But they didn't find themselves in a lot of third downs anyway until they were in the red zone where they could kick the field goal. So some things to continue to work on. But overall, this game was huge for the Broncos because now you got to win under your belt. You're going to stay on the East Coast. You're going to practice in West Virginia leading up to the Jets game. And if you get that game, hypothetically, you're coming back home for Week 5. You're debuting the 77 jerseys against the Raiders. And you're at 500 with everything still on the line, still in front of you. Your goals for this season. Everything's in front of you. I think that's huge that they were able to get this win against a good team who just came off an emotional win against the team they lost to in the playoffs last year in Detroit. They got that win on the road. And then the Broncos coming off 2 tough losses where they didn't play well to come in and execute well, play more like to their potential, I think is huge. And I think when we look back on this win, this could be a big confidence booster down the line.